Uh, so renunciation. Oh, what a complicated topic this is. Pardon me, renunciation. I mean, what's your association to it? Things we're supposed to give up. Am I going to be a good boy or a bad boy? Do I have to give up things? This is about giving up things. Maybe it's about giving up things that I don't want to give up. Yeah. Maybe I'm kind of attached to some of the things that I don't want to give up. Is that a problem? I still meditate. And can I still be a good meditator and not give up certain things? It just brings up so much. It brings up so much for me. So I'm going to talk about this in a personal way this morning. It's a true confession talk about one of my attachments. I've been a sports fan for my whole life. Yeah, pretty big sports fan, Boston sports fan. Yeah, it comes from a really deep connection with my dad. It was a really powerful bonding with my dad, who was a baseball pitcher at not at the pro level, but moving in that direction. He was a pretty good pitcher. And I became loyal to him by getting into baseball, playing baseball when I was a kid, and being a pretty good baseball player when I was a kid. And went to my first game with him, baseball game, to Fenway Park when I was 6 years old. And it was really about Dad. And it was really about the sports that he was into, mostly baseball, but some other sports as well. Whatever he got into, I got into, football, golf. He got into golf. I got into golf. Became a golfer, and in high school and in college. And I watched golf. And it was a sports show when I was a kid called The Wide World of Sports. And Kurt Gowdy was on there, and he would give this great, beautiful announcement. And I knew we were going to show you all these sports, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I still remember that. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And even in the advertisement, they would show, people cheering after, and then somebody crashing on a ski slope, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And I was proud to be a sports fan, I really got into it. And so I experienced the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. As a Boston sports fan for most of my life, I experienced more agony of defeat. But, that was like a badge of courage. It was like, yeah, I'm a fan. That's what it is. You have to suffer when things don't go well. And that's just part of it. That's just part of, that's part of it. And it was part of being just loyal to my dad, who died when I was 19 as well. And it was just part of my ongoing loyalty to him. He never got to see the Red Sox win a World Series in his whole life. His whole life, he was a Red Sox fan and never got to see them win once. So I had to keep being a fan. They've won 4 times now since he died, And so all that. But what I never wanted to look into with sports, my love of sports was a little bit separate from my mindfulness practice. I didn't really want to pay attention to how it was feeling inside. I didn't want to pay attention to how it was feeling inside. And there's this wonderful poem, you've probably all heard of it. There's a hole in my sidewalk. About, I walk down the street, I see a hole in the sidewalk, or I step in it. I step in it. And then I gradually learned to not step in it, and I walk down another street. The problem with that poem, I find, is that we're complex humans, and it takes us a lot longer to walk down another street than we would like it to for the things that we're really attached to, even if they create some suffering for ourselves. And sports was one of those for me. I'm not walking down another street. This is the street I walk down. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it hurts. And I didn't want to look at it. And I remember finally starting to look at it. And I'm going to tell you that this is the real true confession part. I was in 2007, I was at a retreat at the Barry Center for Buddhist Studies during a time when the Super Bowl was going to happen. And the Patriots were in the Super Bowl. And I said, that's it. I'm not going to that Super Bowl. This is the first Super Bowl I'm going to miss. I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm on retreat. I'm on retreat at the Barry Center for Buddhist Studies. And then these people, look, we're supposed to be in silence, first of all. And there was this little gossipy thing going on. We got to go see the Super Bowl. We got to go see the Super Bowl. Bill, you got to come and go see the Super Bowl with us. I said, get away from me, you ne'er-do-well. Ne'er-do-wells. Remember that expression, ne'er-do-wells? No, I can't believe you're even suggesting that. And they said, we've got to do it. Look, we saw Andy Olensky just speed off in his car. He's going to see the Super Bowl. We're going to go see the Super Bowl at a local dive bar. And I said, there's no way I'm going. There's no way I'm going. Finally, I gave in. And we went to see the second half of the Super Bowl. From BCBS, we drove to a local dive bar to see the second half of the Super Bowl. And in the last 30 seconds of the game, the Patriots lost in this totally heartbreaking fashion. And I remember this was the moment where I could not turn away from the agony of defeat. And I realized it really is agony. I really did not sleep well for 3 nights. I was really miserable for 3 entire nights when I came back to BCBS. I couldn't turn away from it because I was on a mindfulness retreat. And that was in 2007. And since that time, renunciation is more of a process than, okay, this is it, I'm stopping. It's more of a process, a gradual process for myself, and I think for most of us. But gradually, and since that time, I rarely watch sports at all on TV anymore. First of all, it came with this. We don't have a TV. We do have a TV. It's right here. It's in front of you. It sits in the meditation room. We don't watch this TV. We don't have cable. We don't have any stations where I could even be tempted to watch sports on TV at home. That was part of it. I was ready to do that. And now my attachment to sports goes this far. I read about it. I read about it on the internet. I don't watch it anymore. I still have echoes of the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, even when I read about it. But that's enough. Watching is too much for me. I can't handle watching sports anymore, especially baseball and football when it gets, in like a big game. I can't do it. My system is too wired to get too agitated, and it stays with me for too long. It's too miserable. It's too miserable. It took me almost my whole life to get around to renouncing sports at that level. What I want to say to you in all humility for all of us is that it takes a long time to renounce even a little bit the things that we've been attached to for so much of our lives, and it's different for each of us, the things that are difficult. For some things it might not be so difficult, but for some things we all have a few things that are much more, even though we know that, if we look closely, they don't feel good. It's still a process. It's a delicate process. It requires just another level of kind of a self-honesty so that's my probably one of my biggest attachments. And it's still there, and the echoes of it are still there for me, and it's moving along now. It's moving along. Where we were last month, the Super Bowl happened, and I had no interest in finding a local dive bar to go see the Super Bowl. I'm done with that. I'm done with that. But I'm done with that. But it took so long for me to be willing to engage that and go, the pain is the agony of defeat is of dukkha. The dukkha of it is so much more evident to me than the thrill of victory. And by the way, even when there was the thrill of victory, I didn't sleep for a couple nights because it was too much excitement. It was too much. I would still just lie in bed buzzing, you know. And it's the extremes. It's the extremes of that, Um, so it's a personal story about the attachment and renunciation in a more organic way, like a process way, and how long it took me. And I know my dad, wherever he may be, is still smiling at my process around all of this. And thank you for your attention around that. And let's meditate together. Okay. Opening up. And when you're ready, coming in for a landing, orienting towards settling. Permission to settle, permission to soften the breath, to find a comfortable breath. And with each breath, with each exhale, renewing the intention and to settle, to soften. And to invite friendliness into the atmosphere of our meditation. And when the mind drifts away, and being willing to return here to the breath, to the vicinity of the present moment. again and again, being willing to return kindly when we notice that we're off in some kind of cognitive drift. Kindly. And in the last few minutes of the meditation, settling back, receiving your experience and softening.